Varanasi is also known as Banaras, and traditionally has been a seat of Sanskrit learning. We have a nice temple there, and we may be getting a big property there. There were thousands of Mayavadi sannyasis there, headed by Prakashananda Saraswati. As some of you may know, Lord Chaitanya had already established his credentials as a Sanskrit scholar when he was young. Yesterday I explained to you that when Lord Chaitanya would teach grammar, he would teach grammar in such a way that in the end it would culminate with knowledge of Krishna. So many of these Mayavadi sannyasis were very critical of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They described him as a sentimental madman, and they would avoid his association. So one devotee of the Lord, he invited all the sannyasis to his house. Lord Chaitanya accepted the invitation also. And Lord Chaitanya did not sit on the high seat with the sannyasis, but sat at a distance where they washed the feet. The sannyasis said, "Why aren't you sitting with us? Why are you sitting over there at a distance?" Lord Chaitanya said, "I am not so advanced." However, the sannyas, Lord Chaitanya manifested his divine opulence. They could soon see so much effulgence coming from Lord Chaitanya's body that they said, "Oh, he must be Narayan himself." The Mayavadis say, "We'll become Narayan." Well, they thought he has already become Narayan. So they dragged him by his hand and made him sit on the same level as... And then Lord Chaitanya explained to them the meaning of the Vedanta, and they all became Vaishnavas. So similarly, Lord Chaitanya was performing kirtan in the house of Srivas Thakur. Every evening for 1 year they went on with kirtan. But one day at the end of the kirtan, the devotees all said that they were very hungry. They said, "We want prasad." So Lord Chaitanya planted a seed, and instantly that seed grew into a mango tree. And in the mango tree there were 200 fully ripe mangoes. The mangoes were red and yellow in color. And each mango was so big that just by eating one mango, it was enough to satisfy their hunger. And there were no seeds and no skin in the mangoes. So all those who claim to be God today, give them this challenge. There's so many people who claim to be Boga. So tell them, here's a mango seed, plant it so it may grow immediately and produce fruits. And once when they were doing kirtan, clouds had appeared on the sky, heavy clouds. And Lord Chaitanya just looked at the clouds, and the clouds understood it's time for them to disperse. And the clouds dispersed, and they were able to go on with their Samkhya. And then of course you know how the Qazi had stopped their kirtan by breaking their mridanga. And Lord Chaitanya organized 3 massive Sankirtan parties. In the front was Haridas Thakur. Advaita Charya was leading the kirtan in the middle, and Lord Chaitanya was in the rear. Can you imagine a kirtan party with Haridas Thakur in the front, Advaita Charya in the middle, and Lord Chaitanya in the rear? And they went to the Qazi, and the Qazi was convinced about the philosophy. In fact, the Qazi said, the day they broke the mridangas, in the night he had a dream. And Lord Nrsimhadev had come to him in a dream and said, "If you ever do this again, then I'll tear your body like you broke the mridanga." So the Qazi gave orders to his future descendants never to disturb Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan army. There were several Muslims who were complaining to the Qazi to stop this Hariram Kirtan. So the Qazi told them, "Why are you always chanting Hari, Hari, Hari?" And they said, "Ever since we heard these names of Hari and Krishna, we don't know what's happened. We just can't give it up." So we'll now continue with Lord Chaitanya's teachings to Rupa Goswami. Few pastimes and then the philosophy. That's the formula. So, yesterday we came as far as Krishna Bhakta Niskama Teva Shanta, in which Lord Chaitanya said the devotees of Krishna are peaceful and the other so-called transcendentalists are not peaceful. And we stopped at the point where one receives Bhakti Lata Beej. Is receiving Bhakti Lata Beej the end of the story? No. Okay, so what to do with Bhakti Lata Bij is explained in this verse. I would like you all to hear the translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, to one very important verse. Malai hana kare sei bija aropana shravana kirtana jale kraya sechana. To discuss all 1500 verses will be impossible in 5 or 6 days. So I'm only selecting few important verses that convey our philosophy. So we have seen, as you know, this is Lord Chaitanya instructing Rupa Goswami in Prayag. So we have seen that Lord Chaitanya has explained how the living entity is traveling through many different births in different species, and how the fortunate soul gets the Bhakti Lata Bij. In other words, he receives knowledge that he must serve Krishna. You must perfectly human life, don't waste it. Now, this seed has to be watered. So each of us has to become a transcendental gardener. And as a transcendental gardener, the seed which has been planted has to be watered. Now, how do you water the seed? Through the process of Shravanam and Kirtan. I'm sure you hear this almost every day in the classes you attend. So Lord Chaitanya says, just receiving the seed is not enough, but he must water the process through the process of hearing and chanting. Shravanam Kirtanam is the beginning of the ninefold process of devotional service. Prahlad Maharaj, when he was in the womb of his mother, he had the great fortune of receiving instructions from Narada Muni. Prahlad's father, as you know, was a well-known demon. So, when Prahlad was in his mother's womb, the demigods were concerned that the child from this lady may be like the father. So they kidnapped Prahlad's mother, and they were dragging her with a plan that they would keep her under their custody till the child was born. But Narada Muni entered the scene, and he said, "What are you doing? You don't know? She is Mrs. Hiranyakashipu, and she's pregnant. The child could be another demon. We are scared that the child is going to become another demon. So we're going to kill the child as soon as he's born." Narada Muni said, "No! The child in this lady's womb is going to be a great sage, have no fear." So they released her. So Narada Muni gave her shelter and instructions, and he gave instructions on the ninefold process of devotional service. So Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smanam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandyam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedam. These represent the ninefold process of devotional service. Shravanam Kirtanam is hearing and chanting. Vishnu Smaranam is remembering the Lord. Pada Sevanam is worshipping the lotus feet of the Lord. Then worshipping the deity of the Lord. Offering prayers to the Lord. Carrying out the orders of the Lord. Serving the Lord as a friend. And surrendering everything to the Lord. However, hearing and chanting is the basis. Unless your hearing and chanting is solid, Vishnu Smaranam or meditation on the Lord will not be possible. So all devotees in this Krishna conscious movement have been recommended by Srila Prabhupada that you must chant minimum 16 rounds a day. You can chant more, but not less. Now, if we chant sincerely and attentively, then this Bhakti Lata Bij will grow. But if our chanting is not attentive, if our chanting is not regular, if our chanting is not high quality, then the Bhakti Lata Bij will not grow rapidly. In the scriptures you read about 26 qualities of a devotee, qualities that Lord Chaitanya explained to Sanatana Goswami that we'll discuss later. You read about aspects of knowledge in the Bhagavad Gita. So devotees often want to know, how can I develop these qualities? So the foundation of our ability to develop these good qualities comes from Shravanam and Kirtanam. So this must be our first duty. Whether you are a brahmachari or a grihastha, whether you're living in the temple or at home, whether you're a full-time devotee or a congregational member, if you want to make spiritual advancement, then this Shravanam Kirtanam must be very regular. You must understand the holy names are not different from the Lord. Nama Chintamni Krishna's Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. Purno Shuddha Nitya Mukta Bhinna Tvam Nama Naminaha. The holy names are identical with Krishna. So the more attentive you are, the greater will be your spiritual advancement. Don't just chant rounds, but chant good quality rounds. Sometimes devotees have a habit to chant their rounds or go through it very fast, like a rapid train. There was once a father who told his son, "Son, you must chant 16 rounds." And the son said, "Okay." The father said, "Have you done your rounds?" He said, "Yes." "How did you do them so fast? In 10 minutes you finished 16 rounds?" He said, "Very easy. On the first beat I chanted the whole mantra, and on the other beats I just said Toja, 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 Toja." So he finished his round very fast. So we should not chant Toja rounds. Now in the purport, now in our chanting, not only should we chant regularly without fail, chanting in the morning hours is most auspicious. We should also make sure that we're not skipping on beads when we chant. You'll be amazed how easy it is to skip on beads and think you've finished a round. So Lord Chaitanya told Rupa Goswami, the living entity is wandering through so many births and different species. And if he's fortunate, he receives the seed of bhakti. Then the seed of bhakti must be watered. And if you water it, then the seed will grow and eventually go and take shelter in Goloka Vrindavan. Now in the purport that you read, Prabhupada had listed many important points that we will just run through fast. The first point that Prabhupada is making is that a Shravanam Kirtan must be accompanied by deity worship. The Lord manifests himself in his archa-vigraha form. And in the archa-vigraha form, it gives us a chance to serve him. Prabhupada says, don't imitate Haridas Thakur. What was Haridas doing? Sitting in front of a tulsi plant and chanting 300,000 times. So Prabhupada is warning us, don't think you can imitate Haridas, not give attention to deity worship. Therefore, in all our ISKCON temples, you have deities. You begin with pictures of Panchatattva. Then you have deities, small deities. Then you go to big Gaurnatai. And then as you progress further, you can have Radha, Krishna. So the point is, this archa-vigraha form is not different from the Lord. It all depends with what mentality we approach the Lord, and the Lord will reciprocate accordingly. I think you devotees know the story of Madhavendra Puri, how the deity even stole rice for the Madhavendra Puri. I'll tell you two stories of the deities, one in connection with Sanatana Goswami, one in connection with Rupa Goswami. There was a deity of Gopal on the top of Govardhan hill. This was a deity installed by Madhavendra Puri. Rupa Goswami had a great desire to have darshan of this deity. But to have darshan of the deity, he would have to step on the Govardhan stone to climb up. We Vaishnavas don't climb on Govardhan stone because a Govardhan stone is not different from Krishna. So Rupa Goswami was always lamenting that I can't have darshan of the Gopal deity. So the Gopal deity spread the word that the Mahamdans are coming. They're coming to destroy the temple. So the pujaris were very concerned about Gopal's welfare. So they took the deity of Gopal and took it to a devotee's house in Mathura. And at that time, Rupa Goswami, along with Raghunath and Jiva Goswami, were also living in Mathura. Rupa Goswami was able to have darshan of the Gopal deity when it was brought from Mathura. So how the deity reciprocated with Rupa Goswami's desire to have his darshan. Both Rupa and Sanatan, though at one time they had great wealth, but when they came to Vrindavan, they were living like beggars, as we said yesterday. So Sanatana Goswami also used to go every day begging from house to house. What is this called? This begging every house to house, what is it called? So Sanatana Goswami one day came to a house that had a very beautiful deity of Madan Gopal. Just at first sight, Sanatana fell in love with that deity. He was just meditating, how can I get this deity? So every day under the plea of Madhukari, he would go to this house that had the Madan Gopal deity in their house. The wife of the house that had the deity was very attached to this deity. She used to treat her son and the deity both like her children. Sanatana Goswami told her that he is the Lord. You should treat him as a Lord of worship, not like your son. But then that lady had a dream in which the deity of Madan Gopal said, No, I was happy when you were treating me like your son. Sanatana had a great desire to get that deity, but he could not get it because that lady was very attached to worshipping him. So one day, the deity of Madan Gopal told that lady in a dream, Please give me over to this mendicant who comes to your house every day to beg. So the next day when Sanatana went to the lady's house to beg and have darshan of Madan Gopal, the lady said, Mendicant, I'm an old woman now. I can't take care of my deity anymore. My Lord told me in a dream that I should give him to you. So Sanatana was thrilled. He was very happy that he at last got the deity of Madan Gopal that he was meditating on for such a long time. Then he brought the deity of Madan Gopal home. He made a special hut in which the deity of Madan Gopal was being worshipped. But in his heart, he wanted Madan Gopal to have a nice opulent home. But he had no money. But he was still worshipping the deity in a hut. One day there was a businessman going in a boat that was in front of Sanatana's hut. And the boat got stuck in front of Sanatana's house. So the businessman who was traveling the boat was in anxiety. He tried his best to get the boat out, but it would not move. He saw there were two huts nearby where there was some light. So he went to Sanatana Goswami and said, Can you help me get my boat out? I'm stuck. I have to go quickly to make some business. Sanatana said, I can't, but maybe Madan Gopal can. So that devotee prayed to Madan Gopal, and as he came back to his boat, there was a fresh current of water coming from another direction. As a result, his boat, which was stuck, started moving. And the boat started moving. Then the businessman was very happy, and he went and he made a huge profit. He was a grateful businessman. So he recognized that he made the profit by the mercy of Madan Gopal. So he brought all the profit and gave it to Sanatana Goswami. Sanatana Goswami said, Make a temple out of this Lakshman. And then he made this temple of Madan Gopal in Vrindavan. These Goswamis of Vrindavan inspired the construction of many big projects. Rupa Goswami inspired the construction of Radha Govindji temple. We'll tell you the story tomorrow. And Sanatana Goswami this way built the Madan Gopal temple. So, the deity reciprocates with your desire and your devotion. In the story of Sakshi Gopal, the deity came to the rescue of the Brahmin. You know that story of Sakshi Gopal? Now in the purport, Prabhupada makes another point of pleasing the bona fide spiritual master. So in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Rupa Goswami explains to us as follows. First step is, you must accept shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. Then second stage is accept initiation from a bona fide. Third stage is obey with faith and devotion the instructions of the bona fide spiritual master. In other words, with faith and devotion, we should obey, carry out these instructions. We must have faith. What I'm being told is for my spiritual betterment. Follow in the footsteps of the previous acharyas under the direction of the bona fide spiritual master. In other words, the genuine spiritual master doesn't concoct anything. He just considers himself to be a transcendental postman. Just like a postman delivers the letter intact, the transcendental spiritual master delivers the message of the acharyas intact. Srila Prabhupada had many wonderful qualities, one of which was he never interpreted anything. He presented the message of the Lord as it was. So, then serve the spiritual master. You can serve him favorably, then you make advancement. And if you serve him unfavorably, then the spiritual life can get spoiled. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, you read about two disciples, Ishvara Puri and Ramachandra Puri. Ishvara Puri serve the spiritual master like a menial servant. He would even carry his stool and clean his stool and urine. In old age, he would even carry him. And Ramchandra Puri was the traditional fault finder. He had a habit of fault finding the sannyasis. First, he would feed them. They would say, no, yani kacho. He said, no, you must. This is Lord Jagannath Prasad. How can you say no? So anyway, when the sannyasis would eat, then he would make fun of them. See, artificial renunciates. So Ramchandra Puri could not understand how advanced his spiritual master was. So in his last days, Ramchandra Puri, out of humility, was lamenting that he hadn't developed love of God. So Ramchandra Puri advised him to meditate on Brahman. So the spiritual Ramchandra Puri was so upset, he said, get out of my sight. Because if I die looking at you, my whole life would have been wasted. So Ishvara Puri served his spiritual master in such a menial way that he was blessed by the benediction that you'll spread love of God all over the world. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will say, so Rupa Goswami says, serve the spiritual master with faith and devotion. Then inquire from him. Inquire, how can you make spiritual advancement? This should be our concern. Am I making spiritual advancement or no? Whether you are brahmachari, brahmacharni or grihastha, doesn't matter. Our real goal should be to make spiritual advancement. Just like when you're diseased, you're in anxiety to get your temperature lowered. So we should be anxious to get our mature temperature lowered. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving us the solution, Shravanam Kirtanam. And Rupa Goswami says, give up whichever is unfavorable for making spiritual advancement. So naturally when you come to spiritual life, sometimes you have to make certain adjustments to make spiritual advancement. Just like if you get a disease, you have to make some adjustments to recover from the disease. If you have a disease and you're advised by the doctor, okay, don't eat sweets anymore, then you have to give it up. Similarly, give up what's unfavorable for spiritual advancement. Now, if you keep watering the seed, Bhakti Lata Beej, then the seed will grow into a tree. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained, this seed will grow beyond this material universe. It will go beyond the Viraja river. The Viraja river is between the spiritual world and the material world. Go beyond the Brahma Loka and go and take shelter at. But you have to endeavor. Just like Rupa Goswami says, by the process of bhajana kriya, the anarthas begin to get destroyed. And as the anarthas get destroyed, you develop determination, eventually culminating in Krishna Prem. So the creeper of devotional service attains the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord if you go on watering it regularly. And it takes shelter of Loka Vrindavan, which is the topmost region in the spiritual sky, even beyond the Vaikuntha planet. Loka Vrindavan is the highest planet in the spiritual world. So this chanting and hearing is so important. Now there are certain guidelines how you can chant and hear to the best advantage. I think this we'll discuss tomorrow. Now we have about 10 minutes left. We can keep those for questions. Yesterday you devotees had a lot of questions. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare